Hey guys, it's Kevin with TeamHeckYeahRC coming at you with part 3 of the Trailfinder 2 long wheelbase build series. So last episode I left off with the suspension being done up except the shocks and having issues getting the bearing into the bearing holder for the transfer case and the drive shaft extension. But last night off camera I used some elbow grease and pure strength and got it on. It rolls nice and smooth now. So today we will finish off the suspension with the shocks and get into the drivetrain. Okay. So on the front we use the 80mm shocks. Now, what I've done for improved articulation on here is remove the inner spring, just so the shock gives better performance, lets the leaf springs do all the work, and is just there for appearance. Okay, so 2 spacers, 2mm spacers for the front. So M3 by 18 through there, then spacer, turn the knuckle out of the way, start threading the screw by hand just to get it going. And then a M3 lock nut. Now pay attention to the spacers as there are 3mm for the rear as well. You don't want to put the wrong spacer in the wrong spot. Again, not enough clearance for the T-wrench, so I'm using a pair of pliers until snug. And then it is the same procedure on the other side. M318, spacer, start threading. Then nut. So that is the front done up. Next will be the upper shocks using the 3mm spacer and M316 screw. M3 lock nut. Now on the shock post, luckily we can use the T-wrench. side. Nope, almost forgot spacer. Lock nut. There we go. There we go. Front shocks are in. They don't give much clearance, but I might put the spring back in later on or leave it as is. I don't want the truck to have too high of a stance. Okay, so we'll start on the rear. Okay. Another couple of 2 mil spacers. Your 18 mil screws. Threaded through. Okay, next one. Now as I'm noticing, I need to take the one out and put Loctite on it. Because these ones aren't requiring a nylock nut. I find that interesting. The front did and the rear didn't. Granted, the front had a lot less bite for the threads, but I'd rather have a nut on here, so down the road I might change it out for a longer screw to put a nut on. Okay. Now for the rear, I'm going to use the second hole in from the outside to mount this shocks to, just for that added bit of look, and I don't want them on too much of an angle. Now these are using an M3 by 12 screw. There we go. That one didn't want to get into the driver right away. Go. And that's the rear shocks. Now that will give me a good amount of flex and play there in those shocks. Next step will be to install the drive coupler for the transmission and transfer case. Okay, just make sure I've got the threaded side. Yep. 1.5 mil driver, and a little bit thread lock. I'll line everything up. So it looks like I put the screw in on the wrong side again. Interesting. What the heck's going on here? The screw's not wanting to bite and start threading. Ah, there we go. No. Interesting. If they've got slightly different. Okay, that one wants to bite. Guess some of the screws are a little different, even though they're marked all the same. For the pins. But we got that one in. So next we'll put the transmission in. Line it all up. Now this is a bit of a tight fit. Has to be lined up just right. Okay, there we go. Some M3x10s, the 2mm driver. Okay. Just getting the first screw on the one side in, and then I'll do the other side. Just to get everything lined up. Oh, there we go, that one went in. Not doing them too tight yet. I just want everything to line up so it'll go together before I crank it tight. Go. Snug that one. Snug that one. So far I'm noticing not a lot of play in this kit for loose parts, which is good. And bad at the same time, because sometimes you want some stuff to have some play and be a little loose, that way you don't break major parts. Everything's gotta have a weak point in some spot. There we go, there's that drive pin. Next we'll be doing the drive shafts. So I'll flip the rig over. So here's the front drive shaft. Now they included drive shaft rings, which is nice to help keep these plastic shafts from spreading apart and coming apart. Oh. Try a different ring on there. A little challenging to get on, a little stiff. Holy. just need it lined up right. Push it down so it holds the pins in. We'll do all the same on the other shaft. Well, that was easy. Next, we'll line them up. In the instructions, they have a way to line them up. But something I noticed is the drive shafts don't line up perfectly like in the instructions. Okay, so next, get that lined up, get that lined up. Another set screw, a little more Loctite. Transfer case one first. This one set screw just does not want to work. Not sure why, I'm not sure if it was misthreaded. That one's biting in good. Is in. That one's not going anywhere anytime soon. Now I will say if I have to replace these drive shafts, this might be a pain to get out, but at least I won't lose a pin on the trail. Because we've all had that happen and that's annoying. Driving along, next thing you know, you're not driving. Now I did this drive shaft off camera to get the retaining rings on. So we'll get this on. Okay, there we go. Use some thread lock that's on my thumb. It's almost like some of these screws and holes didn't get tapped right with how easy and hard it is to get some of them in. But it's going together. Now the last one. There we go. Now, for those that have the metal drive shafts options or are going to upgrade to metal drive shafts, here's a nifty little trick I learned for those of us that like to go into the water. Use Vaseline on your drive shaft joints. Helps keep the squeak down and keeps everything lubricated and running smooth. Now, do a quick test. Gears. Everything turns nicely, a little stiff, but this truck's not going to be Speed Demon, it's going to be used for scale, so okay. That's all I have for this episode. Next episode we will go over some of the finer details, including the tires and assembly of the tires. So that's it for today. We got the suspension and drivetrain mounted up, finished, and ready to go. Next episode we'll go over the wheels and motor and even the servo and the steering linkages. I'd like to thank Interior Crafts and Hobbies for supplying me with this kit. They're my local hobby shop, and I look forward to doing more with them in the near future. Thank you for tuning in. Please like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next part of the build. Thank you, and enjoy the hobby, and remember to have fun.